All right, guys. So we have a really awesome special guest on the show today. We have Kama Godek, who is a
Hi, guys.
Hi. Thanks so much for coming on. So Kama is a Grand Prix show jumper who spends time in Germany and also the US. And she competed for over a decade in Europe and just came back to the US in 2012 and now helps some of the nation's top juniors get experience entering the clay, the medals, the jumper rings for the first time. And in 2016, she was the Zone 3 Prix des States team was made up of 3 junior riders that Kama started in the jumper ring, and she brought them all the way to the high junior jumpers. So, Kama, we're interested in talking to you about how you use dressage techniques as a show jumper, because I understand you just did a clinic with Laura Graves, right?
Absolutely. I was so lucky that our riders won the clinic. Actually, I started off my professional status as a flat rider for Katie and Henri Prudent in 1999.
Wow, that's
and I was hired to ride 10 horses a day. I flatted all of them. They would be off at shows. They'd bring them back. They'd be gone for 2 or 3 weeks, bring that set back. I'd have the next set ready, and we'd kind of flip-flop, and then I'd flat the rest of them. Sometimes some small jumps, but that flat work was so critical. So when we had the opportunity to win the clinic, I was like, okay, this is great. My girls can have a real dressage lesson and not just through me. So we kind of went all out to make the video.
So tell me, so what did it take? Because I know Washington International Horse Show was like sort of they kind of like put this on, right? Where you could win a clinic with Laura.
Right. So full disclosure, we were actually originally out for the golf cart, which I told Laura.
Worked out okay.
Yeah. So one of the girls that had just transferred to ride with me, she had come from a local barn, and they always did this barn night. And her mom said, what do you think about us doing barn night? And I'd always been there as a Grand Prix rider and exhibitor. But for me, Washington was a special show because I remember going there as a kid and not being able to ride there until I was an adult because I had been in Europe. And so we started looking at the different prizes. If you, had the biggest group or something, I think that was what won the golf cart. And then I saw the other prize was the best video. You could win a clinic with Laura Graves. And I said, well, we don't have the biggest group because we're not really the up-down lesson barn that churns through a lot of people. But I think we could get more out of the Laura Graves clinic because you can't just go out and get her time. You cannot buy someone's time.
Yeah.
So if we can get that clinic, let's do that. And we put the video together. We had a few videos. Everyone has their phone out and gets good videos throughout the year. And we kind of put all of our videos, mishmash them together, and we won. So we're really lucky.
Oh my God, that's cool.
Incredible. That's awesome.
That's a fun way to do it too.
Yeah, the hardest part was trying to get her calendar and my calendar to line up.
Oh God, I bet.
So we won it in October. And Washington said, well, which weekends? I said, weekends. I can't do many weekends. I don't think Laura can do many weekends. I said, I kind of like a Monday or a Tuesday because Monday the horses normally have off and we'll flat or do like some gymnastics on Tuesday. So let's try to shoot for either Monday or Tuesday. And I said, we are not dressage riders. So let's do flat work for jumping riders. They're like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's put a spin on it. So that was kind of the way we marketed the clinic.
Had you met Laura before then, or was that your first time?
That was my first time, but I thought she was fantastic. So I had asked them about me calling her, and it got so difficult to line up the dates. I thought, I have her number. I can see where it is. I'll just call her or just tap her on the shoulder at a horse show and say, can I see your calendar? Let's kind of cut out 3 people in between that are trying to get both of our calendars together, and we can just look, each other. Then I emailed her the night before, actually, just to say, if you have time, I'd love to take you out to dinner and pick you up from the airport and stuff. And so the first time we spoke was when I picked her up from the airport, and then we had a quick dinner. And it doesn't matter if you're a dressage rider, eventer, show jumper. We all have the same thrills and spills in the industry about, the trailering the horses and arriving at the hotel and not having the right reservations and stuff like that. So we just had a good, laugh over horsey life at dinner.
Aw.
And she said, I'm not even sure, I didn't even know we were going to do this with jumper riders until like 2 weeks ago. And I wasn't sure if you guys were going to have jumps in the ring or not. And I said, no, it's just going to be a sandbox. Don't worry. I had originally thought that we would do 2 like people in the ring at one time, like kind of a semi-private lesson. But I started YouTubing her training other people. And I saw every time she was on YouTube training, it was one-on-one. And I know that's kind of a dressage thing where jumpers tend to take like the break in between and let the next person do the course, and you go back to the first person. So I said, what do you think about doing 30 minutes each session? She said, oh yeah, I feel more comfortable doing that. So I gave her a little bio on all the riders, and then I wrote up a bio. And before she taught each person, I would give her a couple sentences just reminding her about what we had talked about the night before with each rider. So she had a refresher and she knew what she was getting into for the next 30 minutes.
Wow. So how did it go?
Awesome.
It sounds awesome.
She was awesome. So like I said, I had been the flat rider for Katie and I was in Europe for years. And when I started my sales business, I actually was based out of barns that were more dressage, and I would rent stalls and be the only jumper rider in a dressage barn. So there was no conflict with other trainers in the barn, and that worked out really well. So I was always around dressage riders, but her delivery was so clear. And what I liked is we have so many different types of riders. I don't know if you had the chance to watch the video, but I think it's interesting for everyone to watch this video of the training day. We had 4 amateurs, 4 juniors, and myself. And all the horses were a little different. And she had different approaches for everyone. One was not straight. One was, not in front of the leg. And she just had a great way. Even we had the first person was on a lunge line. It was a girl that's a really dead beginner. And she was on one of my Grand Prix horses on the lunge line. And the girl's still learning her diagonals. Laura easily could have said, okay, you're on the wrong diagonal. Instead, she said, okay, Piper, how hard are you working on a scale of 1 to 10? And she said 8. And she said, oh, I'm lazy. I only want to be working at a 1. When I'm riding my horse at the trot, when I start off, I should be able to look at my phone. I shouldn't be out of breath. That's like your warm up. It should be easy. It just gets harder from there. You shouldn't be working that hard. The horse has to be the one working. And she said, don't kick every stride. Only ask him to trot. If he falls behind your leg, then ask him again. But don't ask every single time. Otherwise, he's not getting the reward. And for me to hear that and watch this really beginner kid, but I could relate to that. How hard are you working at the trot? Are you spurring your horse every stride, or are you able to let the horse trot out of its own freedom? Everyone in the audience could understand what she was saying and could relate to that kid.
Totally.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's
Wow.
a sign of a good teacher when they can teach and explain so well that you can understand it and apply it to your level, even though she's teaching a beginner. Like, that's awesome.
Right. And I thought that even if there were just dressage people, no, we weren't doing 2 tempi changes and stuff, but there was one guy that he did a couple of canter half passes and stuff. I mean, our horses are pretty well educated, but if you're a Grand Prix rider, dressage rider, you still have to teach adult women that are doing first level or second level. And that's kind of the level our horses were at. Just because you're a Grand Prix rider doesn't mean you're only teaching Grand Prix movements. You're also teaching lower levels. So it was good for those people in the audience to see as well. And that's why I think the video is great for show jumpers or dressage people to watch.
So Kama, what do you think was your takeaway? Like, why is dressage important for jumpers?
Well, I don't think it's a surprise, but and maybe it's something that I've grown up with for so long. Horse has to be in front of your leg, that connection you need. It's funny because at a certain point, she said the horse needs to be like a magnet from its hind leg into the bit. That energy has to be like a magnet. I always say the horse needs to be like a magnet to the jump. but we're saying the same exact thing, but applying it a little bit different. I want the horse like sucking me into the jump. The worst feeling is to be cantering towards a big oxer and the horse doesn't want to get to the other side. That energy has to be taking you to the other side. And that canter needs to be developed 20 strides before you get to the jump. And it's the same thing that she's saying. The horse has to have that energy from behind the magnet going up into the bit.
Interesting.
Really
Wow.
interesting way of putting it. I like that analogy.
Yeah, me too.
Write that down.
But I say that to my kids all the time. Do you have the canter you need to get to the other side of the jump? And that's in my feeling why the hunters can never jump as big as the Grand Prix jumpers do, because they tend to ride with looser contact and the horses aren't truly taking you really to the other side of the jump.
Makes sense.
So is there something that you learned from that clinic that you are actively practicing now as a jumper rider?
You know, I've always struggled with the straightness. We all do. And that was the one thing she also said. She said, you know, the funny thing is, it doesn't matter if you're an event rider, a dressage rider, or a jumper. We all struggle with the same issues. And I think when I tell my riders, you have to be straight, I really want straightness in the horse. And I always say, you should be able to shoot an arrow through the center of their ears out of the saddle. And the kids still think turning means using your inside rein and not turning the shoulder. It just helped emphasize those basics, basically.
It's really interesting.
Sometimes just hearing it from a little bit of a different perspective, not the same thing, is always so important too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she also said, you know, it's okay to make mistakes. And I say that as well in my lessons. If you guys get the exercise the first time, I'm not challenging you. I'm not expecting someone to get through today at home. We set down 3 poles. It was a 3-stride and a 6-stride line. The girls set the poles. I didn't even know. They just kind of plopped them down and I cantered over it. And I said, okay, we're going to do 3 and 6 and have turn and reverse, do the same thing. It doesn't come easy the first time. The 3 was a move up. The 6 was a weight. And if you do it the first time, it's too easy, then you're not challenging yourself. And that's what she said was, you know, it's okay not to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. The only way you're going to move forward with your riding is challenging the horse. And then making sure you reward the horse make sure the horse knows when it's doing a good job.
Absolutely. That's
that
so
one
cool.
thing we should all remember is that it's okay to not be perfect. I love that.
Absolutely.
Kama, we got to get a link to the video for you so we can share that, because it sounds like a really amazing learning opportunity.
The video that we made or the video that Laura?
I would like to see both.
I was just
I want to see that tryout video or whatever you want to call it, the contest
it's
video.
Really funny because it was kind of thrills and spills. One of the videos that we included, it was a little girl getting lifted up by the horse when she was putting the halter on. And I had a studio in LA offer to buy the rights and they paid me for the video. I made it with my phone. It was a 15-second video.
That is hysterical.
Yeah. So
what do they
want
to use? What do they want to use it for? You see these like compilations on YouTube and stuff. Oh, yeah.
They sell it for like advertisements or something.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But you know, the theme last year was around the world, and we have a lot of international riders in our barn. So we just kind of did that. And then I said, you know, around the world, every kid in the basic riding school learns how to do that around the world, where you put your legs over the horse.
Yeah.
So like, well, we're going to make this around the world. And as the one girl that does the high junior jumpers was on her junior jumper doing around the world, the horse got spooked and she was backwards and like fell off the back of the horse. So that was like one of the clips of the video of a girl that was clearly competent, but was trying to do an around the world on a horse that was not a beginner horse.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, Kama, thanks so much for coming on the show. This was awesome. We so appreciate taking the time.
Absolutely. Anytime. Just let me know.